about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this Sunday is Father's Day, and I see so many of you mess it up. And you do Father's Day wrong. And I keep telling you that. I've been telling you this for years. You need to do it right. But I understand we have new listeners. We're really grateful for our new listeners. But yes, I usually take the Friday before Father's Day to give you guys a talking to about how not to mess up Father's Day. And unfortunately, many of you do. And I'm a fan of Father's Day. It's funny, I'm not a fan of Mother's Day that much because there's a lot of stress and there's always a mom you forget to, and it's just, trying to make sure moms are happy, and there's all this pressure on this one day when really you should be appreciating your parents 365 days of the year. But because I'm not involved in Father's Day per se, this isn't about me. I prefer Father's Day over Mother's Day. I don't have a father. My father left us, went to heaven back in 2004, but my husband is the father of my children, so I like to honor him. Now, what is the mistake that many of us do? Well, June, right? What's an easy way to celebrate Father's Day? Barbecue. Never, ever, ever do the barbecue. If I, let's say, went to my husband and said, we're doing a barbecue this Sunday, what does that translate into? Well, one, he's got to clean the grill, which he really should have done, at the previous barbecue, but they don't do it. They go, I'll do the pre-clean. Always clean the barbecue after you barbecue. But no, everyone's tired or drunk or whatever, so they don't clean the barbecue till the pre-barbecue. So he's thinking he's got to clean the barbecue. He's got to clean the backyard. He's got to clean off the lawn furniture. He's got to make sure the pool is clean and available for use. And there's all this work he has to do on the backyard. And the average father is not the only one celebrating that Father's Day. Wife or spouse may say, hey, my dad's coming. And then my brothers are coming because they're fathers. So now you have all the in-laws over. Do you think dad, on his one day of the year when he gets to be, and get anything he wants, he really wants to spend it with the in-laws? So now there's all this stress. There's all these chores. He has to work the grill. It's hot outside. What does dad really want to do? Well, I can't speak for all dads, but if I was a dad, I would want, number one, to sleep in. Let me sleep in on a Sunday. Number two is leave the bathroom open for me. If I have to go to the bathroom, and I actually, this as a mom too, I'll sometimes tell the family, look, leave the bathroom open. You guys could go stink up another bathroom, but please, I want to walk into a bathroom and go in without it stinking. So I would want my own private bathroom for at least the morning. It doesn't have to be for the whole day. I would also like no chores. I don't want chores. If it's Father's Day or Mother's Day, I don't want to know that I have duties, that those duties could get me into trouble and cause stress if I don't finish or complete the duties. I also would want to be alone, maybe with my kids, but I would not want to spend it with people I don't really want to be around. And we do this all the time. Another thing we make mistakes on when it comes to Father's Day is we buy stupid gifts. We'll buy them like funny underwear. Let's say he liked the underwear. Where is he going to go and show it off? He can't go to work and show off his underwear. He'll get fired. He can't show his buddies his underwear. So why are you buying him funny underwear? Don't buy dad tools or work stuff. They don't want to be reminded that they have to work. Maybe get him a subscription to their favorite magazine. Maybe they want a streaming service, get them that. Don't give them tools And it's like buying your wife a blender or a mop. Come on, people. Okay, that not the right gift, but it's a gift for men. Gifts for men. When you search it, it comes up with shaving. Do you think a man wants to be reminded to shave? Men don't like shaving. They do, but they don't like doing it. They don't want tools and lawnmowers and all that. Grilling. Yes, grilling tools might be nice, but that's not the present they're really hoping for on Father's Day. Get them a gift card to their favorite restaurant. Let's say they want a tech. Get them something techie that they've always wanted. We got my husband a Swiss Army knife. Now, yes, we did happen to be in Switzerland at the time, but my husband's happy. It was a little pricey, but we got him the one. Thank God my son was with me because I wouldn't have known what to get him. Another big mistake that people make is cologne. They buy men cologne. Now, I happen to think the cologne smell is very sexy as a woman. But do men want to wear cologne? Do men want to be lathered in a parfum? Or no, men want to smell like men. The only reason why men are doing that is for us. So we smell good and sleep with them or whatever. They don't really want. So why is that a gift? This is Father's Day. Get them something flippin' cool. Buy them some NVIDIA stock because, boy, that stock has gone up. You know, get them their favorite book. Get them a retreat, a vacation, a day off. Get them a man cave. Get them what they want. And the problem is the reason why I have to always talk about this is because the average dad out there is afraid to say it. If the average dad says, look, I just want some peace of quiet. I want to sleep in. I don't want anybody bothering me for Father's Day. I want to be left alone. The whole family's going to divorce him. I'm telling you, that's what they need. Yes, they love you. Yes, they love the kids. They appreciate the kids, but they don't want to spend a bunch of money on an overpriced dinner that they had to wait in line for because all the other dads, have to also take their family out. And they don't want stupid gifts. And I think, we really need to understand what Father's Day is about. Father's Day is a day, it was, I think, established. President Nixon, I think, made it an official day in 1972. But it was Sonora Smart Dodd who wanted to honor her veteran father, like mothers on Mother's Day. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, Dr. Daliah Show, or YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So it's my birthday this Sunday. So not only is it Father's Day, but it's my birthday. Yay, happy birthday to me. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's it. I don't want presents. I don't want birthdays. It's a little tricky. Now that I'm getting older, I know I should be very grateful that I made it to another birthday. I am. Thank God I'm here. Thank God I have another birthday. But the older you get, the less exciting a birthday is. And when you hit that year and you feel that click of that year turning, it can be pretty caustic to the ears. I don't really like hearing that sound. And I'm not as excited about being older. And one mistake I made that I don't want you all to make is when I was so worried about my 30s that when I was 28, 29, I didn't enjoy the fact that I was in my 20s. I spent the whole time thinking I'm almost 30, I'm almost 30, I'm almost 30. And then all of a sudden I turned 30 and I'm like, I lost 2 years of my 20s worrying about being 30. And you want to know what? It was no big deal being 30. If I give anything to be 30 again. Then in my 30s, the big 4-0, I was going to now be on the wrong side of 40, which, by the way, it's not the wrong side. Being over 40 is beautiful. But when I was 38, 39, I was obsessed with, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 40. I'm in my 40s. I'm a 40-year-old. And again, I didn't enjoy the fact that I was still in my 30s. And so as I'm going deeper, deeper, deeper into middle age, and boy, am I deep in it. I mean, middle age is almost going to be in the rearview mirror. You know, I've learned some things that I want to share with you. So when birthdays come, we all think that the person celebrating is all excited. They're all happy. But a lot of them are worried. And it's because that birthday is permanent. You are never going to be 28 again. You're never going to be 32 again. You're never going to be 16. Now, I don't want to be 16 again. I don't really want to be in my 20s. If I was not Gen Z and I was if I was not Gen X and I was Gen Z, I love the Gen Zs, but I would not want to be in my 20s right now. I am so grateful I was in my 20s when I was. You know, getting excited for Lord of the Rings, you know, watching Star Trek or Star Wars come back, you know, having my babies. I would not want to be in my 20s again. Now, a lot of us go, well, I would, because then I'd look better when I dated and all that. No. You're going about it wrong. When you hit another birthday, you should be thinking differently. And because if you keep thinking, I wish I was young, I wish I was 20 or 30 again, you're just going to get depressed. It makes no sense wasting that energy on something you can't fix or you can't change. You know, one of you will say, well, Dr. Daliah, what if somebody dies? Okay, are you telling us not to think about it? No. What if I told you guys, if somebody died or you're thinking about a family member that you lost, you don't necessarily sit there and go, how could I get them back? I should have never done this. The car should have never done. You can't change the past. What you should do is remember the good. Remember what they meant to you. Remember the funny things they said. Look at pictures. Turn it into a positive memory. And so many of us start to get depressed on our birthdays because we look at our new age and go, whoa, I'm already this age and I didn't accomplish anything I wanted to be. Now, you know, disclaimer, when I was young, this is what I wanted to do when I was older. One, I wanted to be married. I wanted to have 2 sons. Yeah, I was open to having a daughter, but I really wanted boys. I wanted to have a Jeep or a Corvette, right? I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be in show business. And when I was younger, I wanted to be blonde. Now, the reason why I'm not getting depressed this birthday is because I accomplished all that. Luck of the draw, with the grace of God. I had 2 boys. I got married, and my husband is still around. He hasn't dumped me yet. I got to have a Jeep. I got to have a Corvette, used, but that's okay. At least I was able to afford it. And I dyed my hair blonde. Thanks to Jerry at the Jerry Lambert Experience, I'm a blonde. And so, that's kind of what you need to do. And I am in show business. Yes, I'm not playing opposite Viggo Mortensen in Lord of the Rings. I have not done any love scenes with Michael Fassbender, but still, I am in show business, which is something I've always wanted to do. So for me, I get to age a little easier, and still I have goals that I want to pursue and reach. So how not to get depressed on your birthday? Well, one is look at all that you've accomplished. Look at your family. Look at your career. Look at what you've built. Look at all the lives you've touched. And if you feel like there are some of your goals that you haven't met, start making that a priority. The big thing we do with aging is we make a priority to not age. We're like, well, I'm going to hide the gray. I'm going to do Botox. I'm going to, I don't know. And you concentrate on not aging. Why don't you concentrate on living? If you've always wanted to see Italy, go to Italy. There's ways to do that when it's not that expensive. And in fact, you know what? Do a GoFundMe. I predict we're going to see a lot of GoFundMes asking people to pay for their weight loss drugs. But imagine it's your birthday and you really want to go to Italy. And you say, look, guys, I don't want to do a party. I don't want presents, but this is something on my bucket list I really want to do. Why not? See what happens. I mean, there's always options. You could do a lawn sale, a yard sale. Tell your neighbors, look, I want to get some money together. This is something on my bucket list I want to do. Do you have anything to donate to the yard sale? Do a yard sale and there's ways to make things happen. I would rather you concentrate on that than concentrate on every line, on every crevice, every crepe, Now, true, you should be working on your health. You should be hydrating, good skin care, good exercise, good sleep, because if you really want longevity, you need to work on your health. But if you've always wanted to write a book. I'll tell you how to do it. It's not that hard. You could do it through Amazon. Doesn't cost any money. If you've wanted to be in radio or you've wanted to podcast, do a podcast. Anybody can now do that. Get a really good microphone. I have, get some really good equipment get an amazing producer if you can, but there's ways where you could do it. If you want to be in a career, you want to go back to school, go back to school. I've known 40-year-olds that have gone back to medical school. Why not? So your birthday does not have to be depressing. I mean, look at Brad Pitt. He's 60 years old. He's still hot. In fact, I think he was in the news saying he is willing to have kids with his new girlfriend. That doesn't sound like somebody who's old age or a senior citizen. That sounds like somebody that is still living life. Now, I get it. We all don't look like Brad Pitt. But you don't have to. You want to find love? Find love. It's out there. I found love, and look at me. I mean, I am not the easiest person to love. It happens. It will happen. And so your goals might have to be tweaked a little bit. If you wanted to be president of the United States, that might not happen. But if you wanted to be in politics, great. That's what you have to do with your goals. Why do you want to become president? Well, I want to make the country better. You can make the country better on the city level, in the community level, on the state level. Why do you want to be a doctor? Well, because I want to help people. I want to heal people. If you can't go to medical school, why not be an EMT? Become a paramedic. Become a nurse. There's so many things you could do. Figure out what it is your goal is. Now, don't cheat on the wife. Don't have a midlife crisis. We've talked about midlife reboots. I think a midlife reboot is completely fine. It's where you look at what you've done, look at what you've wanted to do, and wake yourself up going, hey, these are goals I want to have so I have no regrets when I'm going on to the next stage of my life, which would be heaven. Hopefully we all go to heaven. But midlife crisis is where you feel depressed and you feel like, oh, I need to just completely abort what I have and pretend I'm in my 20s. And no. You could have a midlife reboot with your spouse, with your kids. But it's going to take some self-reflection. And we need to talk about this. I'm sick of the happy birthday song. I think the happy birthday song is stupid. We'll talk about that later. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Neil asks, is the sugar in fruit juice different from added sugar in soda or tea? It depends on what you mean by fruit juice. Natural fruit, yes, the sugar's different. In fruit juice, if it's an added sugar, then it would be similar to the sugar they add in sugary drinks. Because fruits have fructose and glucose. You could combine these and make sucrose. Sucrose is what we use as our table sugar or our white sugar. Now, the sugars, the fructose, the glucose, the sucrose, fresh fruits aren't as sweet because they don't have as much of a density of it. So they're still sugar, but like for example, my great-grandfather was diabetic and he was told he could only have 9 grapes a day. No more than that because of the sugar. But that was also before people were ubiquitously adding sugar to all their foods. So fruits do have sugar, but the processed sugar that might be refined, concentrated, added to soft drinks and sweets and sugary juices would be processed. But fructose is a little different than sucrose, and sucrose is our table sugar, so it is a little different. But our body is much able to break down fructose and glucose in its more pure forms than it is the more processed sugar. So that's a great question. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So Americans are being told to be careful when swimming in lakes this summer because several children have suffered kidney failure from swimming in fresh water. Apparently, patients became ill after playing in Lake Anna, Virginia over Memorial Day weekend. They got diarrhea, dehydration, stomach cramps, and 20 people, according to Daily Mail, got sick, most of them kids. Several have been hospitalized. Now, thank God nobody died, but they said many of the patients got infected with E. coli. E. coli is a bacteria that can infest lakes and rivers, but comes from sewage, comes from people's butts, colon. And E. coli can sadly cause kidney failure, especially with hemolytic uremic syndrome, depending on the toxin. Now, another concern we also have is the amoeba Naegleria fowleri. Every year we hear of somebody getting the deadly brain-eating amoeba. The death rate is 97%. And amoebas are becoming more common in fresh water. And this is the time of year that gets us a little nervous because the warmer weather allows more opportunity for people to swim and get these in. Now, the amoebas are different from E. coli. E. coli are bacteria. Amoebas are parasites. And they like to be on the silt and the bed, the lake bed or the river bed. And they'll sit there and not harm anybody unless they get woken up or tossed up into the water. And so if you are in a lake and it's shallow and you're stepping on the lake bed and you're kicking up the bottom sediment and then you swim underwater, these amoeba sadly could come up and get into your nose. And so, I hate to sit here and be a doctor who is telling everybody to go outside, get away from their computer, enjoy the fun that nature provides, the lakes, the trees, the sun. And then somebody gets something like this. And so we don't want you to be fearful of swimming in lakes, but you need to be smart, like use a nose clip, don't put your head underwater, and be aware that unfortunately with these sorts of issues, you need to be aware that some of the signs could be a severe infection. And so E. coli, it's a bacteria. Getting E. coli symptoms will be nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, fever, feeling ill, and you might not realize that your swimming in a lake was a part of it. You might think, oh, they got a stomach bug. They got a stomach flu. Take them in. A lot of patients are calling telemedicine saying, just give me an antibiotic. The kid has food poisoning. If at all you were swimming in a lake before this happened, please, if your child does not look right and is feeling ill, take them in. With amoebas, primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, when it gets to your brain and meninges, that's when it's too late. Naegleria fowleri is an amoeba, and it likes to feed on bed bacteria, is in warm freshwater lakes and rivers. Doesn't do well in salt water, doesn't do well in cold. But when you're underwater, it finds that canal in your nose because remember, it wants to be safe. It wants to find a place to sit and eat and feed undisturbed. So you have a nice canal in your nose. It's going to go into it. And then you could get a headache, fever, fatigue, vomiting. It could progress to neck stiffness, light sensitivity, hallucinations, seizures, coma, and death. Symptoms can surface anywhere from 1 to 9 days post-exposure. I don't even remember where I was 9 days. I think I might have been in Germany in the Black Forest. 9 days ago was a long time. Now, according to the CDC, only 4 people in the U.S. out of 154 have survived Naegleria fowleri infection. And that was between the years 1962 and 2021. 5 survivors of Naegleria fowleri are in North America, all fell in North America. So even though 4 in the U.S. survived, there's been 5 survivors that we know of in North America. How did they survive? Well, they were given an anti-parasitic drug, miltefosine. Some of them their temperature was lowered and they induced hypothermia. And 2 of the children made full neurological recovery. So avoid swimming underwater. Use nose clips. Don't irrigate your nasal passages with tap water. That's another source of this parasite. Some of you aren't even swimming in a lake, but you're doing a nose rinse and you don't have saline. You feel blocked up. You're like, let me go to the tap water. Again, tap water is fresh water. And so you could have amoebas in the tap water. And we've had patients who did a nasal rinse. It sounds like I need one right now. Don't use tap water for that, because you are just irrigating your nasal passages and implanting bacteria and implanting, unfortunately, a possible parasite. So use sterile, specifically designed nasal irrigation or saline irrigation that is sterile. Okay, you got to be really, really careful. I understand your nose isn't sterile, but that doesn't mean to put unsterile things. Some of you ask about Entamoeba histolytica. Entamoeba histolytica is a little different. It's still a parasite, but it affects the GI tract. Entamoeba histolytica can still infect the brain. Look at how I'm teaching you guys stuff. It could still infect the brain, but it gets into the GI tract, and then it could travel to the brain. So it's a secondary brain infection, as opposed to Naegleria fowleri, which is primary. So look, we're going into the summer. I want kids to enjoy the outdoors. It kills me to think that somebody at a water park or somebody who is just swimming in a lake, not being on their Xbox, could unfortunately succumb to something like this. But we need to be aware that there's these pathogens and try not to get dirty water in our nose. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions: Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So has your doctor told you to stick out your tongue? Doctors used to always do that all the time. I do that. I tell people to stick out their tongue. I also will gag them. People don't like that. But if I'm going to be doing a proper exam on you, I need to look at your tongue and I need to look at the back of your throat. And there is a lot that the tongue tells us. In fact, one of my co-residents was very avid in Chinese medicine. And I read a book on what your tongue means. And in Eastern medicine, the tongue can tell a lot of somebody's health. And I see it too. I learn a lot from somebody based on their tongue. I look at their tongue, stop the giggles. I look and examine their tongue, and there's a lot I can tell. And so if a tongue looks perfectly good and normal, that is great. But there's a lot of issues where your tongue might not. Now, the gagging. Patients do not like to gag because they don't want to throw up. And when they use a tongue depressor, or what I like to call an ah stick, say ah, and you go, ah, I cannot stand being gagged. But the only way for us to see the base of the tongue and to make sure you don't have a tumor, back there, oftentimes I've caught base of the tongue tumors or throat cancer because I did an appropriate exam. And I'm not saying this saying, oh, I'm the best doctor, but there's a lot of people out there that are half-assed not doing the proper exam. And so if your doctor looks at you and you have a history of smoking or a history of acid reflux or sore throat, or, they really need to take a good look back there. So make sure they use a tongue depressor. They'll have to put the tongue depressor a little bit past the halfway mark, try to gag you a little so they can see the base of your tongue. And it blows your mind what you could see that you can't see if you don't do that. But what about how your tongue looks? So patients will call up and say, I have thrush, which is a yeast infection of the mouth. I get that all the time. And I go, do you really have yeast and chunks of white stuff coming off that you could just wipe off? No, my tongue is white and I have a sore throat. Well, your tongue might get a quote unquote coating if you have a viral infection. Yeah, thrush could do that too, but thrush is a little different than a tongue that has a coating. So when people are sick, they go from the nice pink shiny tongue to where it looks like it's kind of like old whipped cream or old fire retardant foam. And that sort of white on the throat could be a sign that you have a viral infection. Anemia could make your tongue look white. Excuse me. There's also conditions like lichen planus or leukoplakia that could cause white lesions on the tongue. If you have an isolated white spot where not most of your tongue is white, but you have like a little area, that could be also early cancer. So if you have a spot that's whitish, that looks different, you got to get that checked out right away, especially if you smoke or chew. Now, if you have a bacterial infection like strep, sometimes your tongue will be whitish with red little dots, like a strawberry. That could be a sign of strep, but it could also be a sign of a viral illness. And then a very red tongue that looks like a dark red strawberry could be Kawasaki syndrome. So when you have a child, a pediatric patient, we always are looking at the tongue because we want to ensure that there's not something else that could be going on. Certain illnesses will cause certain looks. So what about yellow? What if your tongue is looking yellow? Now, that can be food. I know smoke, coffee can make your tongue look yellow-brown, but yellow could be a sign you have liver disease. Yellow could be a sign you have jaundice. It could also be a sign that you have poor oral health. Could be a sign that you do have a bacterial infection, because sometimes instead of the whitish coating, it could look yellowish because of food staining. You drink, let's say, soda pop, and the whitish starts to look a little yellow as a result of that. Again, if we're worried about yeast, we try to scrape it off. If we can't scrape it off that easily, it's probably not yeast. Again, let a medical doctor understand. And by the way, if you are getting yeast infections of the mouth, that's not very common. You could get that from an antibiotic, but it could be because you're immunocompromised. You might have HIV, or you might have diabetes. Diabetes can make you more prone to yeast infections. So those are things you need to be aware of. Some autoimmune diseases could cause your tongue to turn yellow and brown. Alcohol use could do that as well. So make sure, again, any discoloring, get that checked out. Some Daily Mail talks about the different colors, like orange. You might see an orange tongue. Antibiotics could sometimes turn your tongue orangish. Beta carotene, like carrots, again, get that checked out. Another thing about the dark red tongue, besides Kawasaki, is vitamin B deficiency. If you're deficient in vitamin B, your tongue might be awfully red. And so that needs to be looked at. Sometimes you could turn very red because of a food allergy or a medicine allergy. And another condition that we've talked about on the show is glossitis, where your tongue gets very inflamed and painful, and you feel like the little baby fingers of your tongue are inflamed. That's a glossitis. That could also cause redness, and there's treatment for this. Now, a gray tongue could also be viral coating, but it could be a medication issue. Certain supplements might make your tongue a little bit more gray, eczema. So again, but with gray, I start to get a little bit worried also about anemia. If your tongue is turning blue, we want to make sure you don't have low oxygen, blood vessel disease, kidney disease. A blue tongue, I understand some of you might have blue bubble yum or a blue popsicle, but if I think your tongue is turning blue or purple, I am really worried about circulation. And so that is urgently the need for you to get seen. Black tongues. I haven't seen a lot of black tongues. Tobacco could do that. Smoking, poor oral hygiene. We have seen some tongues turn black with radiotherapy and other sorts of cancer treatments. It's rare, but a black tongue could also be a sign that you don't have enough blood flow. Now, green. Some people's tongues look a little green. I've seen that with certain medications. I've seen that with poor dental health, smoking. Dry mouth can also change the way the color of your tongue is. A nice hydrated, salivating mouth will keep your tongue pink if you're healthy. But when it's dry, you start to get a different change in the color and of the tissue. So I know that's a lot of information in a short period of time, but the take home to this is tongues are a look into the body. Our body will sometimes give signs, our eyes, our nails, of what's going on internally. Now, I don't want you to go home, look at your tongue and go, oh, my tongue's good, I'm fine. That doesn't mean you have a clean bill of health. But, you know, I see people misdiagnose themselves, and they might have COVID, but they call up telemedicine saying, I have thrush, I need a robust antifungal treatment. And some of these doctors are doing it. Meanwhile, they call back saying, I have fever. And I'm like, that's not thrush. You have COVID or you have so make sure you get the right diagnosis. 1-877-Doc-Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.